Prefix always goes opposite the exponent. All right, so prefix opposite exponent. And I'll write this on, when I hand grade papers, I write this all the time. I may have to make a quick file, a macro to post this into Blackboard, because I'll probably write this a bunch. Prefix goes opposite the exponent. Okay, so there's another key to the metric system, that when we're going prefix to prefix, now there's a system of doing this that we could read the table and do it in one step. But when you're doing that, it's actually easier to think of it as two steps. We're going to always go to the base unit first. All right, so if I'm going centigrams to kilograms, I'm going to do the base unit first. Now, the base unit is this thing here. So I'm going to go centigrams to grams is 1 unit, and then grams to kilograms. And it is faster to do, we will do these kind of problems going to the base unit or from the base unit to a prefix. We'll do those all the time in metric system, and you'll get used to them. That's what we were just working on. And so it is faster to do that, something that we do over and over twice, than it is to stop and change gears and remember how to read this table a different way. All right. And the math on it works out exactly the same. If I showed you that way, you would be doing the same exact math, typing in the same thing in your calculator. It's just easier when we write this out to think of it as going 1 cg, and looking up the centi is 10 to the minus 2 grams. And 1 kg is 10 to the positive 3 grams. Now, when I set this up, it's, so I don't know, let's say 22. This is made up. Made up. All right. Gotta write that a little bigger. All right. So 22 centigrams. And we're going to run out of space. We're going to go over here. Got so much space over here, I didn't realize it'd go all the way over here. 22 centigrams. Let's try it again. 22 centigrams. All right. And then this step, I want to go centigrams to grams. And then one more step, I'm going to go grams down here and kilograms up here. And you'll notice I set up the units. I'm looking down here, and I set up these. All I'm focused on, remember this is over 1, I'm focused on making the units cancel out. And that's the hard part. Once I have this part, which really just came from making these units cancel out, where did I get this again? Off the table, off this metric table. So metric to metric, the most we ever do is 2 steps. All right. Oh, I love that's metric system's awesome. Once I'm in the metric system, 2 steps for the hardest problems. Okay, so now I just need to fill this in. I need the numbers. Well, they're down here. 10 to the minus 2. And I can check that. It goes opposite that prefix. And 10 to the third. So when I read this, I'm going to have 22 times 10 to the minus 2 divided by 10 to the third. Now, putting this in your calculator can be a little fun. We're going to want to use the EE button. All right. Now, that EE button, let's explain it a little bit. So when we're doing this EE button, it saves us so much trouble. So when I have this something, let's do 1 times 10 to the 5th. All right. When I put this in my calculator, I want it to stay one number. This is one number in scientific notation. Well, if I put it in incorrectly, then I'll tell it it's 3 different numbers and I'm doing 2 different operations. And there's several different ways of doing it, but when our calculator does this, what it does is it takes all of this in this box and it labels it E. Now, we don't have access to just E, but we have access to EE. So when I turn on my calculator, it's second, and then it's above the 7, right in here. So let's go way up here. So right in there, above the 7. But when I press that EE button, second EE, we'll see I pressed it. Whoa. Well, you guys can't see that at all. Too bad. It only puts one E. All right. So don't press it again. It's okay. Why does it say EE if it's only going to put one E? Well, that's because there's a little E over here that's the LN button by the LN. We don't want that. Then there's alpha E, and it just has whatever you have stored in it. But we want this E, the exponent E. And so that's got that E. So even if I had a number in front of it, so if I had 3.5 times 10 to the minus 8, and I want to tell my calculator use this number in scientific notation, then I'm going to put 3.5. Now notice the times and the 10 are built into this E. So I'm going to hit second E, negative 8. Make sure you use a negative, not a subtraction. All right. So when I see on my screen, it's going to write 3.5, and usually it'll put the E a little bit low like that, and then negative 8. And it ties all this in as one thing. All right. Now, if you've got a 1 in front of that E, most of the time you're okay without that 1. All right. As long as you're talking about this 1 that's part of it. Okay. If you add an external 1, sometimes it can confuse your calculator. We'll look at it. Main mistake students make is they put a 10E. They'll put 10E 5, and this is wrong because that 10 is already built in. So that's wrong. All right. So when I come in and I'm going to type in this, I'm going to type in 22E negative 2 divided by E3. That easy. All right. And it ties it all together, makes it fast. This EE button, it's the least number of button pushes from, there's 3 different ways of inputting some number in scientific notation or doing some of these exponents. This is the way to do it. It's the fastest, and it gets your calculator you're speaking the calculator's language. All right. So that's how we do this metric system.